Well, what else can we do? Well, we can wait for a certain number of blocks for our contract to finish with. So we've deployed the contract, but maybe we want to wait one block to make sure it actually gets attached to the chain. So we can say const deployment receipt equals await contract.deploy transaction.wait and specify the number of confirmations that we want to actually wait. So we'll wait one block confirmation to make sure that this happened. And then we can do console.log this deployment receipt option. So if we run the code now, we can see all this information about our transaction. And we can see exactly what our transaction looks like. We can see there's 2 is null because we're creating a contract. From is going to be this ganache address that we got the private key for. We see the contract address that we created, transaction index. We can see gas use, log bloom, block hash, transaction address. We can see all this information about our transaction. Something I want you to take note of is the deployment receipt and the deployment transaction. I want you to separate these two because it's going to make your life a lot easier. So we're going to do a quick console.log. Here is the deployment transaction. And we'll do console.log contract.deploy transaction. And then I'm going to copy this whole line by just typing Command C or Control C right there. And then here is the deployment. Here is the transaction receipt. And then this deployment receipt is the transaction receipt. So I'm just going to rename this to transaction receipt to make it a little bit clear which one's which. And we'll run this one more time. You only get a transaction receipt when you wait for a block confirmation. Otherwise, you're going to get the contract object, which has the deploy transaction with it. This distinction will be more important later on, but I wanted you to know the difference between the two. Transaction receipt is what you get when you wait for a block confirmation. The deployment transaction or the transaction response is what you get just when you create your transaction. So transaction receipt, transaction response, they're different. Receipt is what you get when you wait for a transaction to finish, and then response is just what you initially get. Make sense? Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and delete those, but those lines will be in the code associated with the GitHub.